بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآله
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to resume our study of Kashf al-Murad. I hope that you have enjoyed the blessings of the first 10 days of the month of Muharram, and inshallah the light of connection with Abu Abdullah alayhi salam has come and would remain inshallah with all of you. As you remember, we were talking about the idea of some of the mutakallimin or theologians in explanation of resurrection. We said that i'dam is, in the sense of, in the case of mukallafin, a matter of tafriq, separation or a scattering of their body. With the soul, we said there is no kind of adam, and with the case of body, we said it's a matter of being broken into parts. And Adam, for the creator, is not a kind of additional act. If the creator doesn't want something to be there, it doesn't exist. It doesn't need to destroy it even. But some theologians have different ideas. So we were talking about these ideas among Ash'arites, Mu'tazilites, etc. Although they are not Shia, but they are Muslim theologians, and Khaja refers to their ideas and shows that there are issues that make these positions not acceptable. As you remember, we were in this part. قال وإثبات الفناء غير معقول لأنه إن قام بذاته لم يكن ضدا وكذا إن قام بالجوهر. And then we read the first few lines of Allama rahmatullah alayh till we reached here, that some of the Mu'tazilites who have said i'dam is not tafriq and it is al-khuruj an al-wujud بأن يخلق الله تعالى للجواهر ضدا هو الفناء. We said they have among themselves different positions. We reached here. Just as a reminder, and maybe if someone missed last session, so the idea of some of the Mu'tazila is this, that i'dam is not a matter of tafriq, it's not a matter of scattering into pieces. It's a matter of going out of existence. And then, of course, coming back to existence has a big problem, because we said i'adatul ma'dum ba'inah is mustahil, is impossible. If something stops existing and then we have something that exists, it cannot be the same thing. You cannot say we create the same thing. No, it's not possible. In any case, they said that i'dam is khuruj an al-wujud, and then when they wanted to explain khuruj an al-wujud, they made it very complicated. بأن يخلق الله تعالى للجواهر ضدا. Those substances that exist, they said Allah will create an opposite for them, which is fana. as if fana by itself is something. Fana is not to be there. But they said, no, fana is something that God creates as opposite to those substances that exist. And when Allah creates fana, they have to disappear. This is because they were not very much trained in intellectual discussions. And of course, at that time, it's beginning of science of kalam, they were not enjoying the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, and they were not also trained philosophically. So they were trying to come up with some ideas that they thought can serve as explanation for religious positions. And they among themselves, even people of the same mazhab, like Mu'tazilas, had different opinions. So قد اختلفوا فيها على ثلاثة أقوال. They were divided into 3 groups. So they had 3 opinions. قال ابن الأخشيد, one of the Mu'tazilites said, إن الفناء ليس بمتحيز ولا قائم بالمتحيز. They said fana, like nothingness, does not occupy any space. Mutahayyiz means something that has a space. ليس بمتحيز, it doesn't occupy a space. ولا قائم بالمتحيز, and does not also belong to something which is mutahayyiz. Like aras. For example, color is aras, is an accident that belongs to a substance which is mutahayyiz, like paper, for example, or plaster, etc. So fana laysa bimutahayyiz wala qa'imin bilmutahayyiz. So fana, you cannot say it occupies a space, or fana belongs to something which occupies space. إلا أنه يكون حاصلا في جهة معينة. But the thing is that fana happens in a particular direction. فإذا أحدثه الله تعالى فيها, if Allah creates, brings to existence fana in that jaha, in that direction, then عدمت الجواهر بأسرار. Then in that direction where fana is made, substances will all perish. This is the way he tried to explain. Another Mu'tazili متكلم Ibn Shabib, he says, إن الله يحدث في كل جوهر فناء. For every substance, Allah creates a fana, nothingness. So nothingness, like a creature, like a hades for them. ثم ذلك الفناء يقتضي عدم الجوهر في الزمان الثاني. So first, there was a time that Jawhar was existing. Then fana is made hadith. Then when fana is made hadith, that Jawhar can no longer continue existing. يقتضي عدم الجوهر في الزمان الثاني فيجعله قائما بالمحال. So according to Ibn Shabib, fana is something that belongs to a subject that is mahal. Mahal is place of hulul. So fana is hal, يحل في المحال, like aras. The third opinion is the view of Abu Ali wa Abu Hashim Jubayyan ومن تابعهما, and whoever follows these two. They say إن الفناء يحدث لا في محل. يحدث or يحدث, both are correct. Fana happens or fana is made not in a محل, in a subject. فيفني الجواهر كلها حال حدوثه. When fana happens, it destroys, it annihilates, terminates all substances. Then these people, Abu Ali and Abu Hashim, ومن تابعهما, they themselves are divided. ثم اختلفوا فذهب أبو هاشم وقاضي القضاة إلى أن الفناء الواحد كاف في عدم كل الجواهر. Abu Hashim and Qadi al-Qudhat, they said, the chief judge, they said, one fana is enough. When Allah makes fana, all jawahir, all substances stop to exist. But Abu Ali wa ashabuhu, they said, أن لكل ذهب أبو علي وأصحابه إلى أن لكل جوهر فناء مضادا له لا يكفي ذلك الفناء في عدم غيره. They said for everything there is its own fana. So you cannot have one fana and terminate millions or billions of substances. Every substance needs its own fana to exist. فَإِذَا عَرَفْتَ هَذَا, Allah rahmatullah alayhi says, now after you know these opinions, فَنَقُولُ, now we say what is our opinion. القول بالفناء على كل تقدير فرضوه باطل. This idea of fana in every supposition, every assumption that they have supposed is false. We don't accept such a thing, that fana is coming to existence, whether it is substance, whether it is araz, whether it has location or direction, etc. All of them are false. Why? There are different explanations. One explanation is this: لأن الفناء إن قام بذاته كان جوهرا. If there was such a thing that fana can exist, okay, it is either jawhar or araz. If it was jawhar, a substance, إذ معنى إن قام بذاته, if it is dependent on itself, means doesn't need mawzu, like araz. Araz needs mawzu. If it is dependent on itself, it is jawhar, substance. Is ma'na al-jawhar, because we mean by jawhar this, something which is qa'imun bidhatih. Please remember, when we say qa'imun bidhatih, it doesn't mean that it is not ma'lul. No, that's another thing. Jawhar and araz both are mumkin, both are created. If they exist, they are created. But the thing is that the way they are existing is different. Araz cannot except belong to something, is not qa'imun bidhat. Jawhar depends on itself, means doesn't depend on a mawzu, doesn't need another thing. Although both of them, they receive their existence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or their own cause, which finally ends with the ultimate cause. So, if fana is qa'imun bidhatih, then it is jawhar, it's substance, because this is the meaning of jawhar. Ma'na al-jawhar ذلك, something which إذا وجد وجد لا في موضوع. You remember, we used to say this many times in falsafa. الجوهر ماهية إذا وجدت لا في موضوع. فلا يكون ضدا للجوهر. So if it is jawhar, jawhar cannot be zid for another jawhar, because zid is something which is always dependent on and belong to something else. Like colors, for example, can be the taste can be opposite to each other. If you remember again in logic and philosophy, we said الضدان أمران وجوديان يتواردان على موضوع واحد, and some say بينهما غاية الخلاف. ضدان are two existential things that يتواردان على موضوع, that one comes after the other or in the place of other. They cannot exist together. يتوارد from ورود على موضوع واحد. And some have said بينهما غاية الخلاف. So for example, black and white are Z, but white and yellow are not Z, because they said there must be maximum khilaf, difference between them. They say if it is yellow or brown or blue, it's a mixture of some of white and some, for example, black. In any case, if fana is jawhar, then it is not the Z for anything, because it's not amr wujudi, which is يتوارد على موضوع واحد. فلا يكون ضدا للجوهر وإن كان غير قائم بذاته. If fana is غير قائم بذاته, okay, then كان عرضا, then it's an accident, because the meaning of عرض is this, إذ هو معنى. Okay, عرض needs a محل, which is جوهر. عرض is حال في المحل, which is جوهر. فيكون حالا في الجوهر. Okay. Now the question is, either this hal, this fana, which is hal and belongs to jawhar, is there from the beginning, or in the continuity it comes. إما ابتداءً, and we connect, we say إما ابتداءً أو بواسطة. If it is from beginning belonging to jawhar, then how jawhar existed? Fana cannot be together with existence of its mahal. If it is coming later or through a medium, again there is a problem, because fana is araz for something, so means قائم بالعرض, وجود الفنا قائم بالعرض. How something that itself depends on, قائم بالجوهر, how something which is dependent on jawhar terminates jawhar. It cannot even come to existence. If it is in opposition or in conflict with what its existence depends on, so it cannot come to existence. وعلى كلا التقديرين فيستحيل أن يكون منافيا للجواهر. In both cases, fana cannot be in conflict with substances. So this is one part of the discussion. But Khaja brings also other arguments and continues this discussion. From here, for about 1.5 page to 2 pages, discussions are somehow very theoretical, very abstract, and maybe a little bit, difficult, but the idea is clear if you understood so far. And we are just trying to now follow the text and, consider different views, different, ideas, but all go back to what we have said already. He brings also ideas of Ash'arite, etc. He wanted to leave no chance, and because many theological books, Kalami books of different madhahib, had dealt with these theories, Khaja wanted to clarify this. Otherwise, today, based on our philosophical information, these things are very obvious for us, and we don't need that much to go into details. But let us see, at least it's good for understanding history of science of Kalam and how different madhahib were taking positions. قال ولانتفاء الأولوية. Khaja rahmatullah alayhi, as you remember, and you can go back to the previous say a sentence from Khaja, he said وإثبات الفناء غير معقول لأنه إن قام بذاته لم يكن ضدا وكذا إن قام بالجوهر. Now he says ولانتفاء الأولوية. So Khaja is bringing another argument, and he says, and because there is no awlawiyah, there is no priority. Allāmi rahmatullah alayhi says we can understand two things from this, and maybe you can say there are two interpretations. Actually, here and also for some coming discussion, Allama himself, he says, this is what we can understand, or he has, what I have understood, and he brings different interpretations, because Khaja has been very, very, brief. Allama says, يفهم من هذا الكلام أمران. Two things can be understood from this, and both of them are correct. أحدهما, one of them is this: إقامة دليل ثان على امتناع قيام الفناء بالجوهر. Maybe Khaja is bringing a second argument for impossibility of fana belonging to substance. So maybe the focus of Khaja is refutation of the idea that fana belongs to Jawhar, depends on Jawhar. Maybe the second interpretation, which comes in few lines, is إقامة دليل ثان على انتفاء الفناء. So not only for that part, for the whole thing, that fana doesn't exist. This idea is wrong. So either Khaja is bringing a second argument for the main point, which was وإثبات الفناء غير معقول, or for part of that, which was that fana cannot belong to Jawhar. So let us see one by one. أحدهما إقامة دليل على امتناع قيام الفناء بالجوهر. So one option is this, to say that he is bringing a second argument for impossibility of fana depending or belonging to substance. وتقرير, the way we explain it like this: أن نقول لو كان الفناء قائما بالجوهر. If fana depended on Jawhar, لكان عرضا, so it means that it would be araz, accident. حالا فيه means حالا في الجوهر. Jawhar becomes mahal, and this would be حالا فيه. Okay, now this Jawhar is more powerful, or something which for its existence needs this Jawhar, which is fana as aras. He says لم يكن اقتضاؤه means اقتضاء الفنا as حال لنفي محله أولى من اقتضاء محله لنفيه. this fana as accident wants to destroy its mawdu, which is jawhar. But this is not given priority over jawhar not letting this fana come to existence. بل كان انتفاء هذا الحال بالمحل أولى. Not having this araz because of mahal is awla, because mahal, substance, is the main thing. Like for example, if you have color or taste or softness for substance, that is because of the substance that it can exist. So you cannot say araz destroys the subject, which is jawhar. بل كان انتفاء هذا الحال بالمحل أولى إذ منع الضد دخول الضد الآخر في الوجود مع إمكان إعدامه له أولى من إعدام المتجدد للضد الباقي. Because if there is any kind of ziddiya, although technical ziddiya needs to be between two aras, but ziddiya in general sense. So one zid, which is here substance, not letting the other zid, which is fana as aras, coming to existence, is more likely, more acceptable, more plausible, because this jawhar existed before and it is jawhar. This, if something is going to stop the other one, jawhar should stop fana as aras to come to existence. Not that jawhar becomes mahal for aras and aras then destroys jawhar. إذ منع الضد دخول الضد الآخر في الوجود مع إمكان إعدامه إله أولى من إعدام المتجدد. Mutajaddid means something which is new, something which is just happening. This fana is just happening, but jawhar was before also there. So jawhar is baqi, is remaining. Fana is mutajaddid, is new. Something which was there and is remaining can stop there to come, this fana to come to existence. Especially if they are not at the same level. What we said is correct even about two aras. If one aras existed, another aras wants to stop it, so this, the first one stops the second one coming to existence, not vice versa. But here, even they are not two aras. The one which exists is jawhar, is substance. وبالخصوص إذا كان محلا له, one z which is baqi is mahal for the other z which is mutajaddid. This is one tafsir. الثاني إقامة الدليل ثان على انتفاء الفناء. Maybe he's bringing a second argument for the whole issue that fana is not possible. Fana is not an idea that can be used here. وتقريره أن نقول لو كان الفناء ضدا للجواهر لم يكن إعدامه للجوهر الباقي أولى من إعدام الجوهر الباقي له. If fana was zid for substances, then fana destroying substances would not have priority over substances stopping fana. I'damul fana is easier because i'damul fana is what? Man'ahi, stopping it to come to wujud. If fana wants to destroy jawahir, Fana must come to existence and destroy things which already exist. But this Jawahir can easily stop Fana coming to existence. بل هو أولى. So not only that is not more probable or more, acceptable, it's the other way around. Jawahir can stop Fana if Fana was acceptable, idea. Okay, then Khaja says ولستلزامه انقلاب الحقائق أو التسلسل. Again, he brings other unacceptable consequences or implications for the idea of fana being something which is the reason for i'dam. أقول, Allah says, القول بالفنا يستلزم أحد أمرين محالين. So the argument here is this: if you believe in fana, it would require or it would lead to one of the two impossible things. So burhan khulf. Any position that would require something which is impossible, then that position is wrong. Yeah, so this burhan khulf. What are those things which are not acceptable? أحدهما انقلاب الحقائق. In philosophy we said انقلاب الماهية is impossible. Nothing can change. ممكن الوجود بالذات is always ممكن الوجود بالذات. واجب الوجود بالذات is always واجب الوجود بالذات. ممتنع الوجود بالذات is always ممتنع الوجود بالذات. Never ممكن الوجود بالذات becomes واجب الوجود بالذات or vice versa. Yes, ممكن الوجود بالذات can become واجب الوجود بالغير. That's another issue, that's the problem. But ممكن الوجود بالذات is always ممكن الوجود بالذات. Because if you want to change this, then it would have the same thing. You cannot have the same thing. Okay. So, one of the two impossible implications is انقلاب الحقائق, transformation of realities. Number two, تسلسل, endless regression. This is also impossible. وكل مستلزم للمحال فإنه محال قطعا. And anything that would require or lead to something which is impossible, then it is impossible. Why تسلسل and انقلاب الحقائق are impossible? We don't need to discuss. This is واضح. We have already talked about this. أما استحالة الأمرين فظاهر. To say that انقلاب الحقائق is مستحيل, or to say that تسلسل is مستحيل, doesn't need explanation. ظاهر. But what we need to discuss is why القول بالفناء يستلزم انقلاب الحقائق or يستلزم تسلسل. This needs explanation. This ملازمة. We don't need that much, to prove تسلسل or انقلاب الحقائق have problems. This is what is established before. What we need to show is that how in this case القول بالفناء, this case, if we accept it, we would have impossible consequences, which is تسلسل or انقلاب الحقائق. This is ملازمة, we have to explain. أما بيان الملازمة فلأن الفناء إما أن يكون واجب الوجود بذاته أو ممكن الوجود, means ممكن الوجود بذاته. Okay, فنا is either واجب الوجود بالذات or ممكن الوجود بالذات. If you say it's ممتنع الوجود بالذات, so it cannot exist. So those who say fana comes to existence and destroys what is existing before, either they say fana is واجب الوجود بالذات or ممكن الوجود بالذات. والقسمان باطلان. Both of them are wrong. Why? فنا didn't exist before, how then it can be واجب الوجود بالذات? Something which has history of عدم, how can be واجب الوجود بالذات? أما الأول, it cannot be واجب الوجود بالذات. فلأنه, لأن الفناء قد كان معدوما, فنا didn't exist. If someone says, how do you say that? Because it's obvious, because if fana existed, then nothing should have existed before. That those substances would not have existed before. وَإِلَّا لَمْ تُوجَدَ الْجَوَاهِرُ. If fana existed before, so those substances could not have existed. Okay, so فنا كان معدوما ثم صار موجودا. صار هو returns to فنا. ثم صار الفناء موجودا. Okay, if something didn't exist and then it started to exist, is this واجب الوجود بالذات or ممكن الوجود بالذات? It's ممكن الوجود بالذات. وذلك يعطي إمكانه. Okay. Then you may say, okay, so if it is ممكن الوجود بالذات, what is wrong then with that? You said القسمان باطلا. Okay, it cannot be واجب الوجود بالذات, but what is wrong if it is ممكن الوجود بالذات? أما الثاني فلأنه يصح عليه العدم وإلا لم يكن ممكنا. Okay, if it is the second option, because sometimes it exists, sometimes it doesn't exist, Adam is possible for this. So let's see if Adam is possible for it, because it's mumkin, what problem would come. If it can be معدوم فعدمه إن كان لذاته كان ممتنع. If you say this was معدوم because of itself, its essence, this is a problem. You are transforming something which is ممكن الوجود into ممتنع الوجود. This is انقلاب الحقائق. So you cannot say it didn't exist because of its own essence. فعدمه إن كان لذاته كان ممتنعا, then it becomes ممتنع الوجود بالذات after you accepted that it was ممكن الوجود بالذات. So it becomes انقلاب الحقائق. وذلك يستلزم انقلاب الحقائق. You may say, no, I don't say this. I say it is ممكن الوجود بالذات, its essence is equal with existence and non-existence. If it didn't exist, it was because of فاعل. فاعل didn't create it. وإن كان بسبب الفاعل. If you say عدم is بسبب الفاعل, so فنا didn't exist because of فاعل. Then he says, okay, then if fana didn't exist because of fa'il, so why you are bringing all this issue of fana? You can say fa'il sometimes doesn't give existence, sometimes gives existence. Why you want to explain non-existence by saying that fa'il must create fana and that fana doesn't let that thing to exist? As if when something comes to existence, then we have difficulty, we cannot deal with it. It is there, fa'il lost the connection, and now fa'il has to create a troublemaker so that that mawjud goes away. An obstacle, for example, like a builder builds a house, and now builder cannot do anything unless, for example, explode the house. This is not the case. وإن كان بسبب الفاعل بطل أصل دليلكم. Your argument from basis would be refuted. And if you say no, fa'il had not directly stopped existence of this fana. It was بوجود ضد آخر. So in order to have this fana ma'doom had created another fana for this fana. Okay, then that fana also, if it is mumkin and was ma'doom, then we need to go and discuss that fana. That also was preceded by another fana, and this becomes endless regression. وإن كان بوجود ضد آخر لزم التسلسل. Allama says هذا ما خطر لنا في معنى هذا الكلام. This is what has occurred to us with respect to the meaning of this sentence of Khaja. So he's not 100% sure that what Khaja meant, and with his honesty and his very strong scholarship, because when you are strong, you are honest. So those who are weak, they try to show themselves stronger than they are. He says this is what comes to our mind, that when it says لأستلزامه انقلاب الحقائق أو التسلسل, perhaps this can be the interpretation. Okay, something remains which is very similar to what we have said, but we leave it for next session, because I think already what we discussed today is maybe in need of some review and some mubahasa, inshallah. So let's continue this discussion, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, next week. But as I said, the whole thing is not very difficult. The whole thing is that we believe, first of all, in the case of mukallaf, i'dam is just separation of body from the soul. Soul remains, body can be broken, but there is no adam. Those who were talking about adam, they also could make it very simple by saying, okay, file decides to keep something existent or decides not to give existence anymore, automatically this stops. But instead of that, they said, fana has to be created, and then how this fana works, then they had different opinions. So we don't believe ma'ad is a matter of fana and adam, and even if something doesn't exist anymore, we have another explanation for that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Allah salli ala Muhammad wa Thank you very much, Sheikh.
Thank you.
Very interesting and philosophical discussion that I think needs 2 or 3 more listens for me to fully understand.
Inshallah.
So we can have some questions if any participants want to ask any questions. Now is the right time. Feel free to unmute and ask if you have any.
Is that timing good, 9, or you prefer 7 to 8? Or
for myself, I would prefer earlier, but I'm not sure about the others.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam.
8 or 9 is the same. It's just that we're on the road right now, so is Mubarak. But usually 8 or 9 is similar to us, UK time.
8 to 9 is not possible now because we have Salat, but
yes,
7 to 8.
8 or 9. I mean 8 or 9 or 7 to 8 or 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's fine.
9 to 10. I mean, whatever is better for you, whatever is better for the people in the UK. For us, the people here they just take a break for lunch and they attend the webinar. So it depends on you. Also, like that it's not too late for you also, Sheikh.
Okay. So it seems that, yeah, but today we don't have many people so that we can check. So maybe we keep for the time being 9, and then again we check, inshallah. So for inshallah Risalatul Wilaya also, so next Monday we keep it 9, but when we have more people, inshallah we can ask, inshallah, check. Thank you very much. If there is any question, please let me know. If not, then we can finish. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Inshallah, your trip went well. I know you were traveling the last few days.
Yes, alhamdulillah. And I today came back, alhamdulillah. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah for your safe return.
Jazakumullah khairan.
No questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. التماس دعاء.
محتاج دعاء. Thank you.